Hello, awesome possums. Welcome back. Today I'd like to read to you The Dog That Dug for Dinosaurs. It's written by Shirley Ray Redman and illustrated by Stacy Schuett. Our genre for this story is a biography. A biography tells about the events in a person's life. As you read, look for information about why a person is important and events in time order. Our target skill is fact and opinion. A fact is something that can be proved to be true. An opinion is what someone believes or feels. Authors often use facts to back up or support their opinions. Before we begin reading the story, let's preview the topic of fossils. Sometimes parts of animals or plants that lived long ago can be found today. These are called fossils. An animal bone is an example of a fossil. Fossils can be found all over the world. Scientists look for fossils to help them learn about the past. Some fossils are on display at museums. You will read about a girl and her dog who discovered fossils in The Dog That Dug for Dinosaurs. Author's purpose. The reason why an author writes something is called author's purpose. The author's purpose may be to give information or to make a reader laugh. The purpose may also be to make a reader believe something or to answer a question. Think about why the author wrote The Dog That Dug for Dinosaurs. Let's begin reading The Dog That Dug for Dinosaurs. A long, long time ago, there was a little dog named Trey. He was black and white all over. He had friendly brown eyes and a very wiggly tail. Trey lived in England. Trey was a real dog, and this is an honestly true story about him. Trey loved two things most in the whole world. First, he loved Mary Anning. She was 12 years old and lived with her family in a small cottage near the beach in Lymes Regis. Secondly, Trey loved going with Mary to dig for fossils. So, what are fossils anyway? They are the remains of animals and plants that died a long time ago. When a leaf or bone gets pressed between layers of sea mud, it leaves an imprint. After many, many years, the mud hardens to rock. Trey and Mary knew that they would find the very best fossils high up on the cliffs around the beach. They climbed up there every day. Trey sniffed the rocks, sniff, sniff. He pawed the dirt, scratch, scratch. Mary used a small hammer and chisel, tap, tap, tap. With these tools, Mary carefully cut fossils out of the cliff, just as her father had shown her. Trey watched as she placed the fossils in her basket. Most of them looked like seashells. Mary and Trey sold them as souvenirs to the tourists that came by stagecoach to swim at the beach near their home. One day, Trey and Mary discovered some very large bones sticking out of the rocks. They were huge. Trey growled and tried to dig the bones out. Mary used her hands to brush away the loose dirt. "Trey, we've discovered a monster," she declared. The bones were much too big for Trey and Mary to remove by themselves. "I'll go for help," Mary said. "You stay here, Trey." Trey barked loudly and sat down in front of the bones. He was a very good guard dog. Mary ran all the way back to town and asked some grown-ups to help her. "Trey and I have found something really special in the cliffs," she told them. "Just wait and see." When the men saw the giant rib bones in the side of the cliff, they were amazed. "What a beast!" they cried. "Look at those sharp teeth." "Is it a crocodile?" one man asked, "or a stubby whale?" We don't know what it is, Mary admitted, but we know it's something special, don't we, Trey? Trey yipped and wagged his tail. A rich man who lived nearby heard about the sea monster. He hurried to see it for himself. I'll buy it, he cried. I will give it to the British Museum in London. Do you know what it is? Mary asked. It is called an Ichthyosaur, the man told her. That means fish lizard, he explained. It's like a dinosaur with fins. The amazing news spread about the gigantic fish lizard and the dog and the little girl who had found it. Soon many strangers came to Lyme Regis where Mary and Trey lived. They all wanted to hunt for fossils too. The men wore tall top hats. The women wore frilly bonnets. They carried pretty umbrellas and parasols. Mary shook her head and smiled. She rubbed Trey's soft ears. They watched the strangers together. They don't have the right tools, Mary whispered. They are wearing the wrong kinds of shoes. Aren't they silly, Trey? Trey yipped and chased his tail. Curious scientists visited Lyme Regis too. One man came from the University of Oxford. His name was William Buckland. He went to the old carpenter's shop where Mary and Trey sold their fossils. Can you show me where you found your Ichthyosaurus, young lady? He asked politely. Do you think you could find the exact spot again? Trey can find it, Mary boasted. Together, Mary and Mr. Buckland followed the little dog across the beach and up the cliffs. Trey sniffed the rocks, sniff, sniff. He pawed the dirt, scratch, scratch. Suddenly he yipped. Then he sat down. Mary pointed. It was the exact place where she had discovered the strange fish lizard. What an intelligent dog, Mr. Buckland declared. Trey wagged his tail. Trey and Mary continued to dig for fossils. They were very careful. Mary watched for falling rocks like her dad told her. Trey looked out for storms and high tides. Then one day they discovered another giant creature. Look, Trey, Mary cried. It's a sea dragon. Trey sniffed the skeleton and snapped at it with his teeth. The creature had a long, long neck. Its backbone was like a humped turtle shell. Instead of feet and legs, it had 4 large paddles. But it wasn't a sea dragon. Mr. Buckland called it a plesiosaur. One day, Trey and Mary found a fossil that no one in England had ever found before. This one had huge bony wings like a bat and a long, sharp jaw. Trey growled. It looks like a giant flying lizard, Mary declared. The scientists thought so too, and that's why they named it a pterodactyl. That means lizard with wings. Over the years, Trey, Mary, and Mr. Buckland became good friends. They showed him where to find the best fossils in Lyme Regis. Mr. Buckland brought books about dinosaurs for Mary. He brought beef bones for Trey. Mary, with Trey on her lap, studied her books every day. When Trey's whiskers turned gray and Mary was all grown up, they still collected fossils and sold them in the old carpenter's shop. There were boxes and baskets filled with fossils on the floor and on the shelves. Some of the fossil creatures were so big they couldn't fit through the door. Sometimes children and tourists stopped in to buy fossils of ancient sand dollars or tiny fish and curly shells. Many scientists came to the shop too to buy fossils. They brought carts and wagons to haul away the really large ones. Trey and Mary Anning became very famous. Today, if you go to the Natural History Museum in London, you can see the large fossils they discovered together. You can also see a famous painting of Mary holding her fossil basket and Trey, the dog that dug for dinosaurs. Let's dig deeper into fact and opinion. In The Dog That Dug for Dinosaurs, you read about real events. A fact is something that can be proved to be true. An opinion is what someone believes or feels. For example, the author writes that Mary Anning became famous. That's a fact. She became famous. She supports the fact by writing that Mary's picture is in the museum. So she supported the fact that she is famous by saying that the picture is in the museum. Not that she's famous because her picture is in the museum, but she is famous, and because she's famous, her picture is in the museum. Let's look at this, analyze the text, fact and opinion. What is Mary's opinion about what she finds, and what facts do we learn about it? Well, over here she says, we don't know what it is, Mary admitted, but we know it's something special, don't we, Trey? She doesn't know what it is. She knows it's something special. She believes it's something special. If we come over here, she finds out that it's called an ichthyosaur. An ichthyosaur meant that it was a fish lizard. This is something special to Mary, but apparently the fact that it's an ichthyosaur and has been found before, so somebody else might not think it's so special. The fact that is that she found an ichthyosaur. Her opinion is that she found it and she thinks it's special. All right, let's look at these statements right here about Trey the dog. He had friendly brown eyes and a wiggly tail. This was a real dog, and this is a honestly true story about him. Let's pick out the fact first. The fact is that Trey was a real dog. We can prove that Trey was a real dog. Trey is written about in history books. We can go back into the museum in London and read about Trey. He was a real dog. That is a fact. We can prove it. He had friendly brown eyes and a wiggly tail. That, boys and girls, is an opinion. And it's an opinion because of the word friendly. If you were afraid of dogs, would those eyes look friendly to you? No, they would look scary to you, and you would read this as he had scary brown eyes and a wiggly tail. If you were afraid of dogs. So friendly makes this sentence an opinion because it's the author's opinion that the dog is friendly. It might not be your opinion. Let's look over here now. So, what are fossils anyway? They are the remains of plants and animals that died a long time ago. When a leaf or bone gets pressed between layers of mud, it leaves an imprint. After many years, the mud hardens to rock. Is this a fact about fossils, or is it an opinion about fossils? It's a fact. This is what fossils are. They are the remains of plants and animals that died a long time ago. And when a leaf and a bone gets pressed between layers of mud, it does become an imprint, and it will harden to rock eventually. This is all proven to be true. We can prove this to be true. This part is a fact. I hope that you enjoyed the story, The Dog That Dug for Dinosaurs, and I hope that you learned a little bit about fact and opinion. Like this video and subscribe to my channel. New lessons are posted weekly. Work on your growth mindset, and remember, all things are difficult before they get easy. Have a great day, boys and girls, and come back and visit me real soon. Bye-bye.